Disclaimer. What you are about to hear is for entertainment and light education. This is meant to spark curiosity, to explore history, legend, and symbolism, but it should be taken very lightly. We do not intend to offend anyone's personal beliefs, values, or opinions.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to our channel. We are the Seekers of the Arcane. For anyone who is new here, I'm Mars.
I'm Jesse.
And for today's video, you guys probably already know what you're getting into by reading the title of our video. So yes, today we are going to be talking about the infamous Ed and Lorraine Warren, the very widely known paranormal investigative couple. But before we get into the background of Ed and Lorraine Warren, the cases that they have studied and that they were a part of, and everything in between, if you guys can do us a favor and subscribe to our channel, like this video when it's over. If you end up liking this video and this kind of content, if you guys enjoy paranormal investigations, if you guys enjoy paranormal topics, if you guys enjoy literally everything and anything of the paranormal, occult knowledge, esoteric knowledge, all that good stuff, then our channel is the channel for you, so you definitely need to subscribe. And so now we can go ahead and get started with our video.
Ed and Lorraine Warren are two of the most recognizable names in paranormal lore. Before the fame, before the cases, and long before Hollywood got involved, they were simply a young married couple shaped by their Catholic upbringing and shared beliefs that supernatural was very real. Ed grew up in Connecticut, claiming experiences with spirits from an early age. Lorraine, meanwhile, believed she had psychic sensitivity as a child, often sensing energies or seeing lights around people, something she would later understand as clairvoyance. They met as teenagers, married young, and quickly discovered that their beliefs about the spirit world weren't just compatible. They blended into a shared mission. After Ed returned from the Navy, he attended art school. The two began traveling New England, where Ed would paint portraits of supposedly haunted houses. But they didn't just paint and leave. Both Ed and Lorraine would investigate their homes, talking to the owners, listening to their experiences, and exploring the environments that inspired the paintings. These early encounters became their informal training ground. The couple realized that people across the region were reporting similar unexplained disturbances, and soon their hobby evolved into a vocation, helping families who believed they were dealing with the paranormal. This is where their path into well-known cases truly begins, and where our video is headed next. Now let's step into the stories that shaped their legacy, the major cases that made the Warrens household names.
To begin with the earliest major case associated with the Warrens, we have the story of Annabelle, a case that has become far more famous in movies than it ever was in real life. According to the two nurses involved, the trouble began after one of them received a simple Raggedy Ann doll as a gift. They claimed the doll moved on its own, changed positions, and even left small handwritten notes around the apartment. At one point, they believed it had scratched a friend who had mocked it. When Ed and Lorraine arrived, they interviewed the women and quickly rejected the idea that the doll was inhabited by a child spirit named Annabelle, something a medium had told the nurses earlier. Instead, the Warrens said the entity was inhuman, manipulative, and using the doll as a tool to get closer to the women. They argued the doll was essentially a puppet for a darker force looking for an invitation into their lives. But this case, despite how iconic it's become, is one of the most inconsistent. Over the years, details have changed depending on who retells the story. Even the doll's supposed violent acts shift from version to version. Some retellings mentions attacks or even deaths connected to the doll. But when those stories are checked, none have ever been confirmed. Every alleged death related to Annabelle ends up being hearsay, repeated in paranormal circles, but never tied to any real individuals or police reports. Even the scratching incident has multiple conflicting versions. In some, the scratches appeared instantly. In others, they showed up hours later. In others, the friend wasn't scratched at all, but simply just felt uneasy. Skeptics also point out that both nurses later admitted the doll episodes escalated only after speaking with the medium, suggesting the power of suggestion may have played a major role. And the entire written messages detail, one of the most dramatic parts of the legend, has been considered highly questionable, since no physical notes were ever shown publicly, and the handwriting was supposedly on parchment paper the girls didn't even own, which skeptics have repeatedly pointed out makes no sense. Still, the Warrens firmly believe the case involved a dangerous non-human presence. They took the doll back to their museum, placed it in a wooden case, and kept it as one of their most famous artifacts. And this is where the legend of Annabelle truly grew, not from what happened in the apartment, but from the stories told after the doll was in the Warrens' possession.
The next major case is the Parent family haunting of 1971, a story made famous by The Conjuring. The parents claim their Rhode Island farmhouse was filled with activities, doors opening on their own, pungent smells of rot drifting through rooms, children seeing shadow figures, beds levitating a few inches off the floor, and Carolyn Perrin feeling drained, bruised, or singled out by something she couldn't see. She believed the spirit targeting her wanted her out of the house, and she frequently experienced sudden nausea, dizziness, or what she felt was direct blows from an unseen force. When Ed and Lorraine visited, they reported sensing what they believed was a dominant presence behind the activity. Lorraine claimed she identified the spirit as Bathsheba Sherman, supposedly a witch from the 1800s. Ed described feeling a heavy, oppressive energy, and during their seance session, both believed the entity reacted aggressively towards Caroline. According to their account, the forces in the home intensified whenever they attempted banishing rituals. But the skepticism around this case is substantial, especially regarding Bathsheba. Historically, Bathsheba Sherman was a real woman, but public records show no evidence she was a witch, harmed children, practiced occult rituals, or hung herself on the property, as later stories claimed. She lived an ordinary life for the era. The rumor that she sacrificed a baby to the devil appears to have been local gossip that snowballed after a child in her care died of an illness common at that time. The coroner never accused her of wrongdoing. Additionally, skeptics note that no documents ever existed of Bathsheba owning the Perrin property, and most of the claims about her supposed crimes surfaced decades after her death, making them historically unreliable. Some neighbors from the 1970s later said the Perrin home had a reputation only after the Warrens' involvement, suggesting a possible influence or embellishment. The most dramatic event, the seance in which Carolyn supposedly became possessed, was disputed later, with some witnesses saying it was exaggerated or misremembered. Members of the Perrin family themselves have disagreed on what was real or not, with some children saying the house was scary but not demonic, and others feeling the story got away from them once Hollywood became involved. These inconsistencies, paired with the lack of historical evidence against Bathsheba, have led many to believe the case may have been a blend of fear, folklore, and the Warrens' interpretation rather than a demonic haunting. Still, the parents insist that something unexplainable happened in that farmhouse, and the case remains one of the most debated in the Warrens' legacy.
The Smurl haunting in Pennsylvania is another case the Warrens investigated over many years. From 1974 to 1987, Jack and Janet Smurl reported disturbances in their duplex, including foul odors, strange noises, black shadows, shifting mattresses, and scratches appearing on walls and furniture. Some accounts describe a half-human, half-hooved creature, occasionally mentioned as pig-like. Though these details are inconsistent and heavily disputed, the family also reported minor physical sensations or attacks though frequency and severity vary across accounts. The Warrens became involved in 1986 and believed that a malevolent presence was affecting the home. Lorraine said she sensed a powerful entity feeding off the family's fear and tension, while Ed reported growling noises and oppressive energy during visits. He also claimed that the activity grew more aggressive when prayers were offered, though priests and clergy who performed traditional blessings and exorcisms reported no noticeable effect, contradicting this claim. Over time, the story became more sensationalized in media and books, highlighting violent attacks and the half-human creature more than in the family's original accounts. Some extreme claims, including sexual assaults by an entity, were never verified, likely came from media embellishment. Neighbors generally reported no unusual activity, and no physical evidence was documented. Researchers suggest prolonged stress, family conflict, and media attention may have amplified the perceived events. While the Warrens believed some form of malevolent presence existed, the case demonstrates how perception, stress, and religious interpretation can create experiences that feel terrifying even when unverified.
Another major case tied to the Warrens is the Arnie Cheyenne Johnson case, also called the Devil Made Me Do It case. In 1981, Arnie Johnson was accused of murdering his landlord in Brookfield, Connecticut. What set this trial apart was Johnson's defense. He claimed he was possessed by a demonic entity at the time of the killing. This marked the first U.S. trial where a defendant attempted to use a demonic possession as a legal defense. The story began with young David Glatzel, who reportedly experienced violent episodes, unusual behaviors, and disturbing visions. Concerned, the family reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who concluded that David was possessed by a malevolent spirit. They described witnessing physical reactions, strange noises, and other manifestations they attributed to this entity. During the Warrens' investigations and exorcism attempts, they claimed the entity eventually transferred to Arnie Johnson, who began exhibiting unusual aggression and behaviors. The Warrens later testified at the trial to support the idea that supernatural forces were responsible for the murder. However, there are significant contradictions and alternative explanations. David's older brother, Carl Glatzel, publicly called the possession story a hoax, claiming the events were rooted in mental health issues and that the family's experiences had been exploited for profit and sensationalism. Carl also alleged that their mother administered sleeping medication that could have caused hallucinations, providing a natural explanation for some of David's unusual behavior. Some retellings, including the Netflix documentary on the case, mentioned that during one episode, David's father allegedly yelled and smacked him, telling him something to the effect of "knock it off," and the boy quickly returned to normal. Viewers are encouraged to watch the documentary and listen to the family's own accounts to come to their own conclusions about this skeptical moment. The legal system also rejected the notion of demonic possession as a defense. The court did not accept that supernatural influence could excuse Johnson's action, and no objective independent evidence such as medical records, photographs, or recordings has been documented to support the Warrens' description of possession. Furthermore, journalists and investigators have noted that the story's more extreme elements like levitation, growling voices, and other dramatic phenomena were never substantiated beyond the Warrens' testimony and some families' claims. While the Warrens and a part of the Glatzel family maintained that they genuinely witnessed or experienced supernatural phenomenon, other family members and outside observers cast serious doubt on these claims. The case highlights how differing interpretations, cultural framing, and sensational retelling can shape public perception. Despite the contradictions, the family family's fear and concerns were real. The Warrens sincerely believed in the reality of what they were confronting, but the documented inconsistencies show that much of the narrative may have been amplified for dramatic and fear-filled reactions.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Warrens and their most famous cases, we want to be clear about the lens we're looking through. We're not here to discredit the families involved, nor are we here to just blindly defend the Warrens. Instead, we've approached every claim, every story, and every supposed haunting as neutrally as possible, acknowledging both the emotional truths these families experienced and the importance of analyzing inconsistencies, contradictions, and the cultural framework the Warrens worked within. Everything we've shared in this video is grounded in available historical records, eyewitnesses' accounts, skeptical investigations, and the Warrens' own statements. What follows now is our final perspective, an attempt to make sense of these cases beyond the sensational narratives, and to place hauntings, possession, and spiritual phenomenon into a broader cultural and metaphysical context. The idea of demons itself is far from universal. Across ancient cultures, the beings we might call spirits or entities were rarely viewed as inherently evil. The Greek daimons, for instance, were neutral intermediaries rather than maleficent forces. The specifically Catholic concept of demons as fallen angels devoted to human torment is a product of a particular theological worldview, not a global consensus. When you examine world traditions, what the Warrens interpreted as demonic often resembles older categories of spiritual or energetic beings, parasitic entities, land-based intelligences, mischief spirits, or emotionally imprinted energies. The experiences were real to the families, but the Catholic framing shaped the language and interpretation more than the phenomenon itself. Possession is also a cross-cultural phenomenon, but outside the Western demonology, it is seldom described as pure malevolence. In shamanic and Afro-diasporic traditions, possession is often communicative, ritualistic, or a culturally meaningful state. Strip away the Western demonology and possession reads more like a person overwhelmed by spiritual, psychological, or environmental forces. Exorcism in many traditions functions primarily as energetic recalibration, restoring balance, not simply vanquishing an enemy. Hauntings, likewise, arise from a range of non-demonic causes, land trauma, and historical memory. Geological factors like quartz deposits that amplify electromagnetic anomalies, cluttered, stagnant environments that trap emotional residue, residual imprints where intense emotion repeats, or local spirits displeased by disruption. The Warrens' Catholic lens led them to translate most anomalies into spiritual warfare, but a broader view shows there are often more environmental and energetic phenomenon misread as evil entities. That said, Lorraine likely had genuine perceptual sensitivity, and Ed was deeply committed to studying demonology and folklore. Their intentions appear sincere, and many families turn to them because conventional institutions would not help. Here, we give them a measured benefit of the doubt. The church's refusal to validate or assist the Warrens was often as much about institutional boundaries and unacceptable methods as it was about evidence. The Warrens mixed Catholic practice with clairvoyance, mediumship, and other non-traditional techniques, approaches the church historically rejects. So institutional dismissal does not automatically equal fraud or bad faith. Families who felt abandoned by clergy sometimes found the Warrens to be the only responders willing to listen. Even so, their framework produced blind spots. They habitually interpreted diverse phenomenon through a demonic template, and in doing so, they sometimes flattened complex occurrences into a single explanation. That narrowed lens, combined with inconsistent reporting and occasional embellishment, created problems. Cases where the Warrens' claims outpaced corroboration, where recordings and evidence were never produced, or where clergy and other witnesses directly contradicted their statements. Those contradictions do not erase every family's fear or the possibility of genuine disturbances, but they do demand that we treat the Warrens' interpretation with caution. In the end, The Warrens' legacy is human and complicated. They helped terrified families. They sometimes misapplied a limited theology to complex phenomenon, and they operated in an uneasy space outside formal religious authority. The phenomenon they encountered were likely far more diverse than the single word demon can explain. By viewing these cases through a neutral, culturally informed lens, we can honor the lived experiences of the people involved while still asking for evidence, consistency, and thoughtful interpretation. The balance of being skeptical but not dismissive is where meaningful understanding of hauntings and possession truly begins. So you guys, that is basically it for today's video. We hope that you guys liked the video, and we hope that things kind of came into a little bit of clarity, or if not, maybe just gave you guys a different perspective of, you know, which and how to look at Ed and Lorraine, you know, their cases, their work, you know, their studies, and basically like their whole life. There obviously are a lot of nuances when it comes to this, you know, when it comes to them, and obviously the paranormal in general. So again, take everything with a grain of salt. We are definitely curious to hear your guys' own perspective and your guys' thoughts and opinion on Ed and Lorraine Warren. If you guys can let us know your thoughts and your comments down below, let's go ahead and get the conversation going. So remember to always keep your candles burning, and we'll meet again in the dark. Until next time, bye.